Imagine a race, a marathon, 26.2 miles running right through the middle of the African savanna on a 100-degree summer day. You are at the starting line. Next to you is a greyhound, a cheetah, and a horse. If the gun goes off and the race is 100 yards, you lose. You lose humiliatingly. The cheetah crosses the finish line before you've even tied your shoes. But over 26 miles in the blazing heat, you beat the cheetah, you beat the greyhound, you even beat the horse. In fact, under the right conditions, a moderately fit human can outrun almost any animal on planet Earth over a long distance. Why? Because of one specific, utterly miraculous biological superpower. You sweat. They pant. And in the evolutionary arms race, sweating is the ultimate cheat code. To understand why this is such a big deal, you have to understand the fundamental problem of having a body that moves. Movement requires muscle contraction, and muscle contraction generates heat, a lot of it. Only about 20% of the energy your muscles use actually goes into moving you forward. The other 80% is purely wasted heat. If you don't get rid of that heat, your core temperature rises. If it rises just a few degrees, your proteins start to denature. Your brain literally begins to cook. It is fatal. So every moving animal has to have a cooling system. For almost all mammals, that cooling system is panting. Look at a dog after a game of fetch. Its mouth is wide open, tongue hanging out, breathing rapidly. Panting works on the principle of evaporative cooling. When moisture on the tongue and the lining of the lungs evaporates, it pulls heat away from the blood. It's effective, but it has two massive design flaws. First, surface area. A dog is only evaporating water from a space the size of its mouth and throat. That is a tiny radiator for a relatively large engine. Second, and more importantly, panting is breathing. When a four-legged animal runs, its breathing is locked to its stride. When the front legs hit the ground, the internal organs smash forward into the diaphragm, forcing air out. When the animal extends, air is pulled in. One stride equals one breath. This means a galloping animal cannot pant. It can only cool down when it stops running. This is a biological speed limit. A cheetah can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds, but it can only do it for about a minute. After that, its core temperature spikes to lethal levels. It has to stop, lie in the shade, and pant. If you're fascinated by the weird hidden biology of how our bodies actually work, hit that subscribe button right now. Okay, back to how humans broke the speed limit. Millions of years ago, our ancestors were out on the hot, open plains of Africa. They weren't fast. They didn't have claws. They didn't have sharp teeth. They were basically slow, fleshy snacks. To survive and to hunt, they needed a different strategy. They couldn't outsprint their prey, so they decided to outlast them. To do this, human biology did something radical. Over millions of years, we shed almost all of our thick body fur. And then we supercharged a specific type of gland in our skin, the eccrine gland. Most mammals have a few eccrine glands on the bottoms of their paws to provide grip. Humans have between 2 and 4 million of them covering almost every square inch of our bodies. When we get hot, these glands pump out a mixture of water and salt directly onto our skin. Because we don't have thick fur trapping the air, the wind hits that moisture and evaporates it, pulling heat directly out of our blood. We didn't just build a better radiator. We turned our entire external surface area into a giant walking evaporative swamp cooler. Because we sweat, our breathing isn't tied to our stride like a dog's or a cheetah's. We can run and breathe and cool down at the exact same time. This led to one of the most terrifying hunting strategies in the history of the animal kingdom: persistence hunting. Imagine you are an antelope on the African savanna 100,000 years ago. A human spots you. You sprint away effortlessly, leaving the human in the dust. You run for a mile, get hot, and stop under a tree to pant and lower your core temperature. But 5 minutes later, the human jogs over the hill. They haven't stopped. You sprint away again. You run another mile. You get even hotter. You try to pant. But 10 minutes later, the human jogs up again, unrelenting. Over and over, this happens for hours. The antelope cannot pant fast enough to shed the heat of the sprints, but the human is sweating, shedding heat the entire time. Eventually, in the heat of the midday sun, the antelope doesn't die of a spear wound. It collapses from hyperthermia. We didn't overpower our food, we literally chased it until its biological engine melted down, while ours was still humming along nicely. To the rest of the animal kingdom, ancient humans were the Terminator. We were slow, but we absolutely would not stop until you were dead. Today, we complain about sweat. It ruins our shirts, it stings our eyes, and it makes us feel gross before a meeting. We spend billions of dollars on antiperspirants to stop our bodies from doing the exact thing that allowed our species to conquer the planet. But the next time you finish a workout covered in a layer of grime and moisture, don't just grab a towel. Take a second to respect it. You aren't just gross, you are experiencing the peak of human engineering. You are wearing the evolutionary armor of the ultimate endurance predator.